gee, that's too bad. We had her waiting off in the wings, too. How about the Bee Gees? Oh, I see. Okay. Well, listen, we took all the disco records that you brought tonight. We got them in a giant box, and we're going to blow them up real good. Now, we will be returning to the scene of the crime here on the 5th of August for a day in the park with Journey and Santana. You know the whole boogie. And we'll blow up some more. Real good. Me and Teenage Radiation, so we'll see you here for that too, okay? Listen, little snot nose here. Little snot nose. Is there for a little snot nose? Ah, shucks, he's embarrassed. Little snot nose and I want to thank y'all for coming tonight, making us look clean like this. You know, we're pretty important now around the station. They might not even care if the news is late from now on. We appreciate you coming, but most of all, we appreciate you listening to us every morning, supporting us, and hey, it's because of you that this is happening tonight, okay? Not because of us. We're merely a vehicle for your thoughts. Disco sucks. 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 Disco. Let's try a coho chant. Let's try a coho chant. Coho, 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 coho. The lovely Lori. Let's hear it for the lovely Lori. The loop lady. Okay, listen. I'm going to go blow up the records real good. And then if things work out right here, we'll come back. Now, we already had one national anthem tonight, but that's not the one we want to hear. We want to hear the Insane Coho Lips national anthem. What do you think on disco? Here's a little snap nose to give you the play-by-play on the blow-up.
Okay, let's usher Steve down to the explosives with a loud Disco Sucks chant. Disco sucks. 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 Disco sucks.
Into an anti-disco frenzy here.
After they blow up the record, we'll be right back with an interview with Bill Gleason, the columnist, after this message.
Disco sucks. Disco sucks. Disco sucks. Disco sucks. And we're never going to let them forget it. They're not going to shove it down our throats. We rock and rollers will resist, and we will triumph. All right, you ready? We're going to count to 3 and then go boom. And they're going to blow up real good, I'm telling you. It's going to be hot. 1, 2, 3, boom! Here they go. Yeah! The Coho Lips win again! All right. If we can get somebody to roll the music for, do you think? No, I'll tell you what, I'm going to sing it without the music. Me and Little Snot Nose. And we need, now listen now, we need your help. We need your help with the national anthem. You got to give us a disco backbeat, okay? Now this is the only time I authorize you doing it, but it's for a good cause. The backbeat goes like this. Oh, he's got the music ready. Okay, well, go ahead and roll the music then. And you can backbeat. It goes, ooch, 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 ooch. That's a disco backbeat. Ah, yes. I can't hear the music too well, but what the hell? I never know what I'm doing half the time anyway. I wear tight pants. I always stuff a sock in. It always makes the ladies start to talk in. My shirt is open. I never use the buttons. Though I look hip, I work for E.F. Hunting Snot-Nose. Do you think I'm disco? 'Cause I spent so much time blow drying out my hair. You like it? Do you think I'm disco? 'Cause I know the dance steps. Learn them all at Fred Astaire. Yeah!
Disco, 'cause I know the dance steps, learned them all at Fred Astaire. Hey, where you going? Well, you're going home. What, do you have to get up early and go to work tomorrow? What do you mean you don't have a job? Let me have your phone number. You don't have a phone? Let me have your address. I'll come by and visit you. What do you mean you don't have an address? What's going on around here? Some people call me scum, 'cause I don't have a realistic set of values. And I'm beginning to maybe think they're right. Oh, come on, now wait a second. I want to dance with you. I'm Tony, white three-piece suit. I'm happening. Come on. What's the deal here? I never meet any women at these places, and you're supposed to. It says so in all the magazines. I love to dance with girls in sleazy dresses, lipstick, nail charms, and makeup in excesses. Buy them a drink and try and get their number. Usually they are as cold as a cucumber. Do you think I'm disco? Am I superficial? Look and hip's my only goal. Do you think I'm disco? Maybe it's not too late to get into rock and roll. Rock and roll! Now, this disco thing isn't happening. That's a bummer, though. I spent all that money on this suit, on this jewelry, and I've got the most expensive blow dryer on the market today.
Jimmy Pearsall back in the ballpark, and I'm sure glad, and I hope they don't let you people see what's going on here at Comiskey Park. One of the saddest sights I've ever seen in a ballpark in my life. This garbage of demolishing a record has turned into a fiasco. My guest right now is Bill Gleason. And Bill, after all the years you've been in baseball, I know you haven't ever seen anything like this.
Nor has anyone else, except after the final game of a World World Series in Shea Stadium, it seemed to me, Jimmy, that the crowd on the field that we now have was inevitable. Just watching, you could sense that they were going to break out. And all of the kids in the lower deck who want to go out will be out there now. And the White Sox may have to forfeit the second game.
You know, that's a shame, too. They do have about 50,000 people, it seems like, here. And to see what's going on in the field really is amazing, and I don't know what they can do about it. I certainly hope they don't demolish the field like they did in New York, because we've got quite a season to go yet, and we're still in the race.
Well, the crowd doesn't seem to have tearing up the turf in mind. I think somebody got away with, excuse me, Jim, with second base, and I noticed one of the ushers salvaged first base. He pulled it up and ran into the dugout with it. But at the moment,
Bill, can they call the game, the second game, or will they forfeit it?
well, I don't know what the ruling would be. I would say there are 2,800 people on the field at the moment, Jim. So I don't know what they can possibly do. As you said, the baseball is no longer the story. It's this crowd.
Yeah, you know,
taking over the ball.
You know, it's amazing. We got the greatest country in the world, but you know what? We have become followers. So many people insecure, don't know what to do with themselves and how to have a good time. They follow someone who's a jerk.
Well, that's a situation here. A lot of followers and a lot of kids drinking down in the stands. There are a lot of happy kids out there. I don't mean happy in the modern sense, but pleasant kids enjoying themselves, showing off a little bit. But the thing you have to consider now, Jim, is whether they can keep this crowd in control.
You know, they're trying to announce it over the loudspeaker, but nobody can hear over the loud. There are now, I'd say, 10,000 people on that field, Bill, without any question. Many are grouped around home plate, more around the mound, and they are just letting out all sorts of enjoyment that I don't know what's so happy about that. I would rather swim, or I'd rather do a lot of other things than just stand on a baseball field.
Well, I noticed down in the Tigers dugout, some kids were trying to grab the bats, and Johnny McNamara, the clubhouse man, was protecting the bats by pounding on top of the bat rack with another bat. I know Johnny wasn't attempting to strike any of these kids and didn't.
Look what's happened now. They got the batting cage. They're running it around the outfield, a very expensive piece of merchandise that the players need every night to have batting practice. It's a big one, and now they're jumping all around it. I don't know what can be done here, except maybe they're going to have to call in a lot of policemen or something, because it's getting out of hand as far as things they're starting to do. I don't know how far they're going to go, but most of the people in the upper deck are staying here. They aren't leaving. It's mostly people from the center field bleachers and lower deck.
Most of the people in the lower deck, Jim, too, have stayed in their seats. You look, the majority of the crowd is still seated or standing and watching this, but kids come off and others go back on. So it's not a scene that I want to remember very long.
No, not for in baseball, and I certainly hope that there's an example being made here that something like this will never happen again, not only for this ballpark, but for all ballparks around the country. Now they're calling for Harry, and I certainly know that Harry will enjoy that, but I don't think he, too, would enjoy something like this going on.
Well, I think it's the crowd in the stands. I think if they could hear, they ought to have the disc jockey from WLUP get on and ask them, appeal to their sense of sportsmanship and ask them to go back to their seats.
A lot of fans trying to get in the dugout here, the White Sox dugout, but they've got security guards around it. But it's a long night. I don't think there's possibly be a chance to play. I said before that the only way I think they can stop this is along with Bill was saying. Some of these records are being thrown high in the air, and they're going to strike people on top of the head and seriously cut somebody. And that's why I'm a little bit leery up here myself.
Well, I think, Jim, there's a definite probability of somebody being hurt, because there may be more than records flying. Kids are running around. I see how the security guards really can do anything but apprehend a kid or two and take them out. They're trying to rescue the batting cage now out in short center. But security guards are going to have a very tough time trying to handle this many people.
You know, they seem to be getting tired a little bit of this, what they're doing, and some of them are walking off. But then you see a new group come back on. Bill, the ball game tonight saw a young man, Underwood, who impressed me very much with his poise and his ability to change speeds and really get our big hitters to swing at bad pitches.
Yes, he was masterful. Sox were hitting the ball into the air most of the time. Again, the White Sox pitchers didn't pitch bad baseball. Could have been a 2-1 game, certainly. The Tigers, as they did earlier in the season, Jim, just stole with impunity. They just run at will. When you send Rusty Staub, one of the slowest people in the history of baseball, down to second, that doesn't say much for Detroit's respect for White Sox pitchers' ability to hold the runners close, although tonight I really thought that they were stealing on the catcher. I didn't hear what you had to say, but that's how I saw it.
Yeah, so I did too. Bill Gleason, thank you very much. We're going to take you back to the studio now for a film. This is Jimmy Pearsall with my guest Bill Gleason saying thank you very much.
Filled to capacity has never seen anything like it. Thousands of young people worked up by a named Steve Dahl. His anti-disco night, it got out of hand. The White Sox promotion obviously backfired when the fans, the young ones, took the demonstration much too seriously, spilled out of their seats, mobbing the field, as you can see. The game delayed over 2 hours. And police have actually set up barricades now to keep people out of the area of the stadium. Rosemary Gully is there with a live report. Rosemary is not there with a live report. As you can imagine, the scene outside the stadium, as you saw inside, is very chaotic, and it is our policy not to add to the situation. Terry, I know you were about to introduce Al Lerner, who was there when the action started. May I do the honor, since we don't have Rosemary? Tell us what happened, Al.
Well, very simply, Joel, as you say, a disco promotion. This is anti-disco demolition night. The whole idea of this promotion, Steve Dahl on his morning show blows up disco records. Tonight at Comiskey Park, in with the White Sox, a dual promotion to blow up thousands of disco records. The idea was for 98 cents, anybody can get into the ballpark for 98 cents, and a disco record brought 50,000 people. I believe that Rosemary Gully is ready out in the field, and if we can go to Rosemary, we'll go to her right now for her report.
I'm ready to go. You know, it was a combination of a lot of things out here, and it's called, you can blame it on the disco, because a local rock radio station had a promotion out here tonight, whereas they wanted to blow up disco. So they distributed records and had a demonstration out on the field. So that, the heat, and a lot of drugs, and just a very unruly crowd presented the problem. I talked to the deputy chief, who told me that they knew that this was brewing around 4 o'clock. Anyway, I did talk to some people as they were leaving after the first game. Can we go to that tape?
Look at your report.
It just started out, you know, everybody was getting ready for it, and they got all hyper. They started throwing stuff back and forth, and then...
Why did they get all hyper?
Well, they wanted to blow up the disco records. They don't like them.
Steve Dahl came out, they blew up all the records, and the people went wild. They went onto the fields, they lit fires, it just went wild.
I'm really a Sox fan, and it just got out of hand. These people are good people, it just got out of hand. Too many people, that's all.
Al and Tim, who's to fault? Who is at fault for this happening?
Well, we have to start, of course, the White Sox have to take ultimate responsibility for what happens in their park. Bill Veeck agreed to the promotion. They wanted to get a big crowd, and they got a big crowd at the ballpark. So it has to responsibility has to be shared by both the radio station, who hyped this event for weeks and weeks on the radio. The whole idea is to get people angry and to get them really anti-disco, bring them to the ballpark and give them their due. Now here we are earlier in the evening, 50,000 people estimated at the ballpark, and everybody's having a good time, but we knew that there was a problem there. Lots of fans on the outside who couldn't get into the ballpark, estimates up to 5,000, who were climbing in. This is Steve Dahl, the jockey, and he is on the field speaking to 500 to 50,000 fans, and then the disco explosion. This is what they all came to see. Fireworks first, and then all the records the people brought blown up. It was at that point that everybody was looking around for something to happen. And when one person ran onto the field in center field, this is what ensued. I was standing on the field with our camera crew shooting this, and it was one of the most horrifying sights you can imagine, standing out there and watching 5,000 people run toward you. Bill Veeck, of course, has to be dejected, thinking about whether or not he can ever run in promotions like this again. And finally, it took the Chicago police to sweep the area to get the people off the park. Steve Dahl, the disc jockey, was nowhere to be found as soon as this was going on, and it was an unfortunate error in planning by both the White Sox and the radio station. They didn't understand the magnitude of what they had started, and then it got out of hand. There were a lot of booze, of course, in the ballpark, and a lot of drugs, as Rosemary said too. The smell of marijuana, of course, very pungent in the air. We just learned that the second game has been called. We assume that means the White Sox have forfeited that game, and now they're going to just try to clear the area and get everybody home and try to forget about this night at the ballpark.
What is this going to do to Bill Veeck's promotions in the future, Tim?
I really don't know, but this is obviously the, you know, those people weren't vicious. They weren't really mean. Nobody was injured that we know of, but man, it was just too crazy. You can't blow up records in the middle of a baseball field and expect 50,000 people to just say, hey, let's get on with the next game. We'll have more on the Comiskey Park scene later on in the news.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Rosemarie. Former
Mindy, you got yourself in a jam.
We better check that out in the press box.
I can't believe it's Sunday.
Doubleheader Sunday. All right, it will be played Sunday in spite of the fact that they play a night game Saturday night. And I thought that was against, but I suppose because of a rescheduling, perhaps the players are forced to permit it.
I know why, Harry. It's getaway day for the All-Star break, and I got a plane to catch at 5:40.
I want to go to Lake Geneva, too. All right, that's it. The one game played, the White Sox losing by the score of 4-1. They never did announce the crowd. Jake, can we get that before we leave? Just pick up that phone. That ought to be interesting.
Let's take a guess.
I'd say 51 or 2,000.
You would. I'll say 49.58.
But the other time when we had the Red Sox here, I'd have sworn there were 50,000 people because they were jammed in the aisles just as they were here all through that first game. I think they only seat 43,000 here. No attendances yet. All right, we can't hold on any longer. There's some great programming coming up here on Channel 44, and I know you're anxious to see it. Well, we're sorry that we couldn't bring you both ends of the doubleheader. Channel 44 particularly regrets it, but there was certainly nothing that the television people could do about it, nor our radio station for that matter, because this one was in the hands of the promoter of the event, which was the rock and roll station Looped. So they certainly showed the power of their station in drawing an audience and being able to influence them to patronize the ballpark, but unfortunately they weren't quite as ruly or as well governed as perhaps we all hoped they might have been. So that just about wraps it up now with Jimmy Pearsall, Harry Carey, wishing you all a very pleasant good evening from Comiskey Park, where an unannounced, very large total of baseball fans saw the White Sox drop the first game of the doubleheader to a very good-looking Detroit Tiger team under Sparky Anderson by the score of 4-1, and where they have the second game called, necessitating a doubleheader Sunday afternoon. See you Saturday night on Channel 44. So long, everybody.
Second game was postponed until Sunday after Detroit won the opener 4-1. The crowd, a full house of approximately 49,000 fans. The first game was all Tigers as Fred Howard lost to Pat Underwood. This triple by Tom Brookins drove home the eventual winning run in the second. The Tigers led 2-0 and went on to win in a breeze by a final of 4-1. Everything was calm before that full house at this point, but as we reported at the top of our newscast, things turned unruly after that. On what was called Disco Demolition Night, a local disc jockey was allowed to blow up a bunch of disco records. That triggered pandemonium as the fans rushed the field, tore down the batting cage, and filled up Comiskey Park so you couldn't even see the grass anymore. This caused the second game to be postponed, as I mentioned, and I think maybe even Bill Veeck learned a lesson tonight. Some gimmicks are sure to backfire. And
first run and second run, Tom Brookins tripled into the left field corner to make it a 2-0 game. Greg Pryor drove in the only White Sox run of the day with a triple down into the left field corner, and here comes Rusty Torres around to score. But the Tigers went on to win it by a score of 4-1, and of course, Game 2 was canceled with all the activities happening out between games. Then on team night, WLUP held a disco demonstration. We'll talk about that a little bit more too, but Game 2 was canceled out there this evening. As we said, between game activities, the main attraction, the Disco Demolition, spearheaded by morning radio man Steve Dahl and his anti-disco army called the Insane Coho Lips. Earlier, I asked Steve just what he has against disco.
Well, the first thing I have against it is that I can never find a white three-piece suit that fits me off the rack. So I hate the taste of pina coladas. I'm allergic to gold jewelry, so there's nothing there for me. I'm a cheapskate. I don't like to waste a lot of money at home, you know, in terms of my electrical bill, and you have to spend so much time blow drying your hair. It's a waste of energy. Okay, I'm ecologically meaningful and cheap, so I'm not into it. I'd like to, if I could, show you how we destroy the disco records. And this is how I do it. I have to kind of get worked up a little bit.
Psych job.
Yeah, I chant to myself, coho lips, and then I just... Oh, that felt good.
Well, worthy as the cause may be, the idea of the game was to blow up disco records in a box out in the middle of center field. That did happen.
This is Jimmy Pearsall with my guest Bill Gleason saying thank you very much.
Between games at tonight's doubleheader, a local disc jockey blew up disco records in center field, and the crowd responded by rushing the field. Police moved in, and it took them a considerable amount of time. A bonfire had been built in the middle of center field. Police tried to clear the unruly crowd, pushed them out, finally got them off the field, although, again, it took a long time. Perhaps some arrests, it's hard to tell. Some people appear to be taken into custody. We don't know the exact nature of everything that's gone on out there so far, but News Center 5 staffer Mike Pumo is out there at Comiskey Park, and we have him on the phone right now. Mike?
Hello. Jim.
Yes, what's the current situation?
They just canceled the second game.
They canceled the second game because
the field is unplayable as determined by the umpires.
Also, would they have run into a problem with the fact that they had such a long delay because of this?
Yeah, there's a 1 a.m. curfew, and so they would have had to complete the game by 1 a.m., but the main reason was because the umpires determined that the field was unplayable.
They had to clean it up, I suppose. It looks like there's a lot of litter out there from the picture we have.
Right. What happened was that they had an anti-disco demonstration between the games, and the fans stormed the field, and they set a bonfire in center field, and they also ripped up some turf in front of the pitcher's mound, about a foot wide and about 10, 12 feet long. And they had a meeting with Sparky Anderson and Don Kessinger and Bill Veeck, and one of the supervisors of the umpires was here along with the head umpire. And after that meeting, I guess they've decided to cancel the game.
Okay. Any injuries that you know of?
Not that I know of. We have no reports of any arrests either as of right now.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Mike Pumo, who was out there at that White Sox game and saw what you just saw and more, I guess.
cover that particular story for about a week and a half now, and the disc jockey involved, Steve Dahl.
Is that the guy who was cracking the record over his skull?
You'll see him in a second. But, you know, he doesn't really plan to have anything like this happen. And, you know, I know he's probably going to catch a lot of flack for it, and it's undeserved. But, you know, we'll talk more about that as the week goes on. A packed house out at Comiskey Park tonight on teen night, and there was more happening, of course, than just the twilight doubleheader scheduled with the Detroit. Activities happening out between games. Then on teen night, WLUP held a disco demonstration. We'll talk about that a little bit more, too. But Game 2 was canceled out there this evening. The main attraction, the Disco Demolition, spearheaded by morning radio man Steve Dahl and his anti-disco army called the Insane Coho Lips. Earlier, I asked Steve just what he has against disco.
Well, the first thing I have against it is that I can never find a white three-piece suit that fits me off the rack. So I hate the taste of pina coladas. I'm allergic to gold jewelry, so there's nothing there for me. I'm a cheapskate. I don't like to waste a lot of money at home, you know, in terms of my electrical bill, and you have to spend so much time blow drying your hair. It's a waste of energy. Okay, I'm ecologically meaningful and cheap, so I'm not into it. I'd like to, if I could, show you how we destroy the disco records. And this is how I do it. I have to kind of get worked up a little bit.
Psych job.
Yeah, I chant to myself, coho lips, and then I just... Oh, that felt good.
Well, worthy as the cause may be, the idea of the game was to blow up disco records in a box out in the middle of center field. That did happen, but after that is when the fans overran the field.
Biography, the book which he called Vec, as in wreck, wherein the Chicago White Sox owner told of the promotional gimmicks he'd invented over the years to get crowds out to the ball game. But last night it came from Bill Vec's son, a gimmick that left no doubt that the boy's name rhymes with wreck too. This from Norma Quarles.
50,000 people, the largest crowd of the season, showed up at Chicago's Comiskey Park for the twilight doubleheader between the White Sox and the Detroit Tigers. 15,000 others had to be turned away. Many had come for Disco Demolition Night, a promotional gimmick. Between games, as planned, a huge box containing thousands of disco records was blown up. The rest was unplanned. Fans stormed out onto the field in the thousands. Disco records were hurled like frisbees. Bonfires were set. Bottles were thrown. The batting cage was torn down and destroyed. Fistfights broke out. White Sox players had to be locked in their clubhouse for their own protection. The melee lasted an hour and a half and resulted in 39 arrests and a few minor injuries. The baseball fans missed the second game. It was canceled. The White Sox lost it. It was forfeited to Detroit. Norma Quarles, NBC News, Chicago.
Day of Chicago Fest in May.
185, they'll call him Meatball. Trust old Tom on that. Now, my next guest tonight, a gentleman who'll be joining us a little bit later on, is truly crazed. His name is Steve Dahl, and he is a disc jockey for station WLUP-FM out in Chicago, Illinois. And he hates disco music. He hates it so bad that he brings helium to the studio, inhales it, and imitates the Bee Gees on the air, and then breaks up their records. Now, as it turns out, there are a lot of people in Chicago who hate disco as much as does Steve Dahl of WLUP. I've got some videotape, now don't go to it just yet, some videotape of an anti-disco rally which Steve put on at Comiskey Park in Chicago on the 12th of July this year. You all know that Comiskey is the home of the Chicago White Sox. He told his listeners that all they had to do to get into the ballpark that night was come with 98 cents and a disco record which could be placed on a large pile and blown up between games of a doubleheader. They sold 15,000 tickets to the baseball game. But by the time the Disco Demolition thing came around, there were 50,000 people in the stands and 40,000 more people outside screaming to get in. Now, it was described by Greg Gumbel of station WMAQ-TV in Chicago. Let's go to the videotape. Let's pick it up right here between games, Comiskey Park, July 12th, 1979.
It was, first of all, the biggest crowd anyone has seen at Comiskey Park in many a day. An estimated 50 to 55,000 inside the park, another 10 to 15,000 outside. Between games, WLUP's Steve Dahl led his followers in song and chants on the field, and then proceeded to blow up the disco records collected in a box in center field. Then, the unscheduled event. Some 7,000 to 10,000 fans overran the field, tearing up bases and sod and causing a delay of over an hour and a half. Chicago police finally cleared the field, but too late to save Game 2 of the doubleheader. The field was declared unplayable, and the game was canceled.
Now, why would they get upset about that? I mean, here in New York, it is not an unusual happening when fans rush out onto the field at Yankee Stadium. They don't go out there to blow up records at Yankee Stadium. They want to take Reggie Jackson home with them. That's what they do at Yankee Stadium. In any event, Steve Dahl did not shed any tears over the fact that the Chicago White Sox had to forfeit the game. As he says, they weren't in first place anyway. He'll join us tonight. We have Meatloaf with us and a few more surprises. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. Now from Chicago, here's Mr. Steve Dahl, a disc jockey at WLUP-FM out there, and the man who single-handedly was responsible for a riot at Comiskey Park on... You don't want to be known as a riot.
No, I'm ashamed of myself.
No, don't be. It's not you. It's the people who ran out on that field that should take the responsibility.
I took blame. As a matter of fact, I went home, and after the alleged riot, and I went back home to Los Angeles to my mom's house and had her spank me soundly for 2 weeks. And I enjoyed it.
Too, right? Yeah, he was into it.
I enjoyed it. And so did she. And she's now suing my father for divorce, and we're getting married in about 3 weeks, and I'm kind of proud to make the announcement here on the show.
What kind of people do I hate? I got this guy coming on here saying, you know, I got this guy over here. Why do you hate this? Why do you hate disco so much?
Well, I can't find a... Can I take this off?
Sure,
I feel silly sitting here in a...
It's the only reason we brought you here, so, you know, if you want to take it off...
Well, I do look good in uniform, and I know you like guys in uniform, and...
That's right. That's right. You like
You know, my name, this is kind of...
I want to pass it on.
Coincidental. My real name is Spam, and I changed it to Steve Dahl.
Yeah.
And your name is Meatloaf, and of course that's not your real name, and you changed your real name to Meatloaf. It's kind of coincidental. Spam, see, that's a meat product, and it comes in a loaf.
You're on a roll.
It's a little smaller.
Good, Steve. Let's talk about Chicago.
I thought about calling myself Turkey Frank for a while, and change it to Steve Dahl. I hate disco because I can't find a white three-piece suit that fits me off the rack that hangs well. And you got to have one of those.
That's exactly the same reason that I dislike disco.
And I'm allergic to gold jewelry.
Oh, see,
and I don't like pina coladas. I'm allergic to coconut. So what does it hold for me?
Probably nothing.
Nothing. I can't dance. One leg is shorter than the other.
He's had a worse childhood than me. One leg shorter than the other one.
Have you had lunch with Bill Paley recently?
No. I've had lunch with Bill Veeck recently, though.
Oh, the guy who runs the team out there in Chicago.
Yeah, he was pretty upset with me. And he beat me about the face, too, for a while. And he has a wooden leg. And that didn't
Weren't you amazed that 50,000 people turned out to vent their venom on disco records that night?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we thought we'd probably get 20 or 30,000, actually. Yeah. And there were enough security people there to handle that many. But they were too crazed, and there were too many of them, and that's where the problems really occurred.
Well, listen, it's not where
record business was good that week, though. They sold like 90,000.
Yeah, the record companies, they complain to me. They say, Steve, what are you doing? You're destroying the industry. I said, no, I'm not. They buy rock and roll records, and now they buy disco records, too, to blow them up. They love it. As a matter of fact, I have some here tonight. I thought we could... Would you like to break one with me? Can we do this?
You can do anything you want, Steve.
I got
No, I like staying alive. I say I can't help it. I like staying alive.
Oh,
come on.
No, you can't say that, so you can't like any of them.
No, I like staying alive.
You're going to hurt your rock and roll record sales.
No, I like staying alive. Staying alive.
The courage of your convictions. Remove that record from Meatloaf's hands and smash it into a million pieces. Go ahead, break it. Get it out of your system
now,
Steve.
These guys are friends of mine. You're in trouble. These guys are friends of mine.
You're in trouble.
The Village people, they're friends of mine. And I did, listen, her real name is Gaines. You know that? I did hair with her sister Linda. I mean, how?
Wait a second. Hold it. Is that a brand new record? Hold it. This is $12.95. Come on.
I got a receipt here. I need to talk to somebody about this, too. Is this a production expense that I can
there
get
are a lot of
reimbursed
people
for?
who would like to have this record. We don't want to just break it into a million pieces.
There are kids in India that want Bee Gees records. I know. I've seen that. Sally Struthers talks about it. Please send your disco records to India.
Yeah, they trade them for food there.
I do it right on my head. It's very simple. It's just a... And actually, you know, to get serious for a second so the entire country doesn't think I'm a raving idiot. My parents are watching tonight.
Really?
It's not so much the music that I dislike. It's actually the culture, and we're a rock and roll station, the Loop is, in Chicago.
It's true.
Hardcore rock and roll station, and it's actually quite intimidating to to our audience, to myself, to most rock and rollers, because you have to look perfect. Your hair has to be beautiful. And you sure you don't want to do one?
I did. I mean, I did, you know.
Would you like to do one?
No,
you know,
thanks.
You
can use the helmet. It doesn't hurt.
No, I don't.
You know what
like
Ted
to break
Nugent
things.
said? I saw Ted Nugent last Saturday. You know what he said about it? He said he was glad for disco because it kept him away from his concerts. He says, these guys don't come close to me, boy. They stay away from me.
Well, it's actually gotten out of proportion, you know, because New York, the media centers, and Los Angeles are so into it now. And the trendy ad men go down to Studio 54 and
put on a dress and say, hi, let's have a good time. Sailor?
Pretend they're Margaret Trudeau. And
I did that once. It worked.
Yeah?
Yeah, I pretended I was
That
Kate
might have
Smith
been me.
one night, too.
That might have been me.
I went through the Studio 54 singing, God bless America.
You know what? Ethel Merman has a disco album out now.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to hear Alexander's ragtime band, Disco.
Annie, get your gun, Disco. Yeah. I got all that stuff.
It's good stuff. But anyway, it's intimidating. We're just trying to put it back in perspective. It's not that important. I don't want to see Margaret Trudeau's face anymore on the cover of anything with her little see-through dress on, you know, or Ally McGraw and doesn't have a bra on, and I'm not interested, you know.
You know, they get time, you know. Ally McGraw and now Margaret Trudeau will have to get equal time over there.
He asked me to do that.
What, equal time?
To get him on here.
Oh, okay.
What is insane coho lips?
Oh, that's drug-inspired. You were talking about drugs? Let's talk about them. I don't experiment with them because I don't need to experiment anymore. I know exactly what I'm doing with them now. It's all taken care of. Oh, yeah, one of those. In Chicago, they have a gang. A street gang.
Several, yeah.
Called the Insane Unknowns, which I think is an interesting name for a Mexican street gang. You know, somehow in a cosmic flash, they thought, Insane Unknowns. Let's be that. And I took the insane from them, the coho from coho salmon in Lake Michigan, and lips because...
Everybody's got them.
Yeah, that too. And it means nothing, but we are the insane coho lips. That's the anti-disco army. That's what we call ourselves in Chicago.
Right. Now, what is this thing you do with the helium? We had some... I bought you some helium tonight.
I know, I appreciate it.
All right, can you do that for me with the, where you do the Bee Gees?
Yeah, we have it down here, I think, much like a... We could pass this around and I swear, some guy right now at home, I swear they were passing a hookah around on the Tomorrow Show. What is going on?
I stopped doing that in '69, you know, after I opened to Hendrix. I really did. You
Yeah,
know.
spent all day.
Me and Hendrix are backstage doing this stuff while I'm telling you, we were really out there.
No fooling?
I'm kidding, Tom.
Oh, I never know with you.
Well, you get very lightheaded from this.
All right,
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead and give me some...
Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Okay. I need a little bit more in here. I just wanted to test it. I will now do. You sure you would like to do? Whoa, I'm seeing God. And he looks like
you see blue?
He looks like
you see any blue? You see a little blue?
Looks like you. It's very depressing.
62.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a Chinese cook. What do you think?
I can't, would you, I try
No. Hey, no, oh, no.
No. Listen, I'll blow
Hey,
up
let's
and
get
float
some
away.
little finger sandwiches now. I'm real hungry. That makes me hungry. So that's what we do.
Is that it? That's the whole
That's
tune?
the end of it? You don't do the Bee Gees?
You know,
Well, that was the Bee Gees.
you can tell by the way I walk, I'm a Chinese cook. What's
right.
the second line?
I don't know. I'll do more if you want.
Yeah, give me another one.
But I can't do too much at one time, as I'll pass out here.
That's okay.
No, I'm already...
The show's almost over.
already-
You go down, you go down.
It'll be great.
Free for all.
It'll be great. If you're going to go out on TV.
Exactly.
Man. I mean, go
Chicago.
out. You know?
Hey, listen, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you want to go out on an FM station in Chicago? If you're going to go, pal, you might as well go on 175 big ones coast to coast.
You're right.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Showtime.
But I am in a lot of trouble in Chicago. They have a state fair there, Chicago Fest, like a state fair for Chicago. I walk in, I'm just enjoying myself, eating beef on a stick, you know, and walking around. And the police see me.
It's a corny dog.
Steve Dahl, and they came. No, it wasn't. It was teriyaki. It was interesting.
Oh, that stuff.
Steve Dahl, they came and kicked me out.
No, if it makes you funny, don't do it anymore. I don't want you to hurt yourself. I really
I'll do
don't.
one more quick.
No, don't hurt yourself. Promise.
Let him do one
I'm
more.
addicted to it, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. I've been off this stuff for 3 months. I do
One
one
hit,
thing, I
it's one
figure
hit,
I'm
it's
okay.
all over, you know.
And you guys
One
talk me back
Well,
into
that's
it.
it. Hey,
And I suppose you're going to sell me the
tough luck,
second
you know,
take,
yeah.
right? You're going to sell me it for 50
Hurry, I got
we're gonna
5 seconds.
We're going to
Okay,
take
go.
out of the street.
How deep is your love? How deep is your love? I really need to know. Give me a kiss.
Now these announcements for the NBC television
I'll give you some
stations we
roller
will
skates.
continue. Wow. Woo!
Introducing the Stripper.
Now don't ask me why. All right, here we go.
Oh, boy.
Well, we'll all be saying goodnight now for the NBC. We'll all be saying...
It's really? Oh, you see a little boy.
I don't believe it. My thanks to Meatloaf. My thanks to Steve Dahl. Never went to watch the difference. Whoopee! Thank you all for watching, and good night, everybody, from New York City.
While in New York, guests of The Tomorrow Show stayed at the elegant St. Moritz Hotel on Central Park South, near major corporate headquarters, Fifth Avenue Shopping, and the Theater District. Hotel accommodations furnished in exchange for this announcement.
Tomorrow on Today. Disco and how it's changing. In the remaining lazy years of the 70s, people were ready for a new sound and a new star. And when both came along in one shining package, the impact was explosive. Saturday Night Fever was an international hit with a kind of rare force capable of starting new trends. Travolta's white suit became the uniform for the young disco dancer. The public rushed to discotheques that had cloned the aura of Travolta's world, recreating the total environment of flashing lights, from the ceiling to the dance floor. Couples were dancing together again. They looked more like the ballroom spectacles of the 40s than the rock and roll set. And the mass media turned the craze into a gold mine. The soundtrack of Saturday Night Fever became the biggest selling album in history, grossing $215 million worldwide. The movie itself brought in over $100 million. Chicago radio stations were soon programming their entire day with the danceable up-tempo beat. And disco even saved Rush Street. When Mr. Kelly's folded, everybody thought Rush Street would head for the beat joints and strip parlors. Live music was gone. And then discotheques sprang up, attracting hundreds of thousands of people down here at night. Millions of dollars was spent on the flashing lights and the sound systems and restaurants to serve the dancing public. And once again, Rush Street got hot. An enterprising promoter put disco on wheels and into the movies. Even the black radio market in Chicago, which has traditionally snapped its fingers to the tune of its own drummer, has been affected by the disco craze. Tom Joyner is a top personality at WJPC in the morning and at the Happy Medium Disco Mondays and Fridays. At both places, he is a disc jockey with a special black disco sound.
Black disco music could be classified as funk, okay? For instance, like a music like this. That's funk. That's Prince. Hear that funk? Smell it? All right. Funk is a ham hock in your cornflakes.
All right, Bill Curtis, you want some funk? Here is some funk. This is Bootsy and the Rubber Band. Yeah, but dabba doo, yeah, but dabba doo,
But as the 70s came to a close, so did the disco trend. Within the past year, disco records have dropped in sales from 60 to 70% of the market down to 5%. The disco radio stations are beginning to mix their disco sound with pop and rock music. Many listeners attracted to the pounding beat in the first place found a steady diet to be a Chinese water torture in sound. Disco owners feel people will still come to dance, but the unending thirst for the pounding disco beat appears to have been quenched. In Chicago, as in no other city, disco's demise has been hastened by a curious mixture of a Chicago radio station, clever promotion, and a disc jockey named Steve Dahl.
It's an intimidating lifestyle and culture, and I think there are enough intimidating factors in the world these days that you don't need something ridiculous and absurd like that to make you feel like a jerk because you can't get into it and slide and hang out and snort pina coladas.
Dahl is talking about a resentment toward disco among the young. He's been exploiting that feeling for less than a year, breaking records on the air and forming an anti-disco army of followers. To his surprise, his phantom radio army turned out to be real. The movement against disco spilled onto the field at Comiskey Park, evidence that Dahl and the Loop had touched a responsive nerve among its young listeners. Not only did it help cut short the disco craze, but it catapulted an FM radio station into Chicago radio history. That report tomorrow.
Who's got the best new car warranty at no extra cost?
Oh.
Mary Laney, Channel 2 News from McCormick Place.
Tonight, our second report on the impact of disco music on the pop culture of the 70s. It became a battle between disco music fans and those against the fad. It's the story of a disc jockey and his radio station who tried to kill the disco mania.
Steve Dahl with you.
And Gary Meyer.
And man, we're in trouble again. Look at this.
The two radio men whipped up the emotions of teenagers against disco music. And when they gathered their small army at Comiskey Park, the park lost. That was July. Dahl was barred from Chicago Fest, but the station's promotion manager hawked T-shirts and wound up selling 225,000 to date. In 6 months, 500,000 pieces of promotional material will be sold or given away. By summer's end, it was Chicago radio history. While Wally Phillips is still the acknowledged king of the morning, Steve Dahl has become the crown prince, attracting the biggest share of teens and young adults, according to ARB. They had knocked off the rock giant, WLS, all with an anti-disco thrust and a unique disc jockey.
Tell it.
I like to dance with girls in sleazy dresses, lipstick, nail charms, and makeup in excesses. Do you think I'm disco? Am I superficial?
Yeah.
Look, and it's my only goal.
The sun hasn't come up yet in Chicago, but more than 200 of the faithful have come to the Carnegie Theater to hear and see their leader.
And this is a loop, the Coho Breakfast Club, as we head into the last hour here for a disgustingly rancid lima bean day.
Okay. Any resemblance to the Breakfast Club of Don McNeil is purely coincidental. This is a mixture of high school talent show and Saturday Night Live.
Will it be kept confidential from my parents? The doctor gets drunk and calls people up. Hey, you know what? Hey, this is a guy that's going out with that 17-year-old virgin. Am I somebody that they should know?
No, but we're not in the Chicago guidebooks.
I'm John Drummond, and hey, does this cigar smell bad or what? Come on. But you're going to be walking near the Michigan Avenue Bridge. You should be advised that Ted Kennedy is going to be crossing that soon, and be careful, okay? I'm like a girl in high school that puts out for everybody. You know, I'm getting a bad rep. And when I kiss, I just, a lot of people, you know, when I'm going to, like Janet and I are going to be romantic or something, I'll just take a little section of an odor eater and chew on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
his radio voice resembles Mickey Rooney, but he looks more like John Belushi. What's so appealing about Dahl? For teenagers, it's that rebellious streak, saying the unspeakable, using sexual innuendos, being irreverent, making fun of anybody. His material ranges from gutter tripe to social commentary.
I guess basically I get paid for doing what they used to kick me out of school for, which I think is a wonderful thing. Just being stupid. These are the things I do on the air every day are the things that they used to send me out in the hallway for.
Competitor Tom Joyner of WJPC likes Dahl, but has reservations about his movement.
I've known some people that walk down the street with something on their shirts or on the back of their jackets that says disco, and some of his what he called Dahl's Army or whatever they are, it almost got jumped on and stuff. You know, he could very well be a very dangerous person.
Dahl's anti-disco record has sold 500,000 copies in 3 months. His latest, recorded Monday, capitalizes on another emotional issue.
Ooh, you got a real nice beard, real nice beard. You know it really caught my eye, Ayatollah. But you know your mind is weird, your mind is weird. You really are a nutty kind of guy, Ayatollah. Come on.
Media critics call him inventive, creative, funny. But his humor is raw, unfiltered, seemingly without limits. And that's just the way he wants it. Breaking new ground in comedy. One reason they can still say,
we have a remarkable radio station.
except for one little incident.
Well, when he quit school and we found out about it 5 months later, yes, that was a little over the line.
9 years later, Steve doesn't need diplomas, but he does need a daily dose of audience adoration.
He needs it. It's like a fix for him, being able to have the audience like him and care about him.
They don't just like him, they idolize him. His fans range from the very young through 14-year-olds with braces to 35-year-old bankers. Steve claims they're all crazy, but he does truly appreciate them.
They're wonderful. I couldn't make my house payments without them, because I'm not qualified to do anything else but dig ditches.
Actually, Steve is into a lot of other things, and he's doing quite well at all of them.
Do you think I'm disco? 'Cause I spent so much time blow drying out my hair.
His record's a big national hit, and now he's working on a comedy album. In addition, he's putting together a weekly television show, and he's marketing his own line of Hawaiian shirts. While Steve is occupied with his many business ventures, his 29-year-old wife, Janet, is in law school.
I have to keep my husband out of jail. As you can see, he's been libelous on about 8 occasions so far this morning.
Do you have a lot of pending lawsuits?
I have one pending right now, that's all. And that's as a result of Comiskey Park.
What happened at Comiskey Park?
Boy, you got me, I'll tell you.
No one really knows for sure. It was the high point of Steve's anti-disco campaign, where he blew up thousands of disco records in the middle of Comiskey Park. The only problem was the swarms of kids who almost tore down the park. Steve says it wasn't his fault, but still he's become more conservative and now destroys only one record at a time.
That's it. We'll call the Lone Ranger tomorrow. We forgot. The dog ate it. Thank you.
I don't know what you all think of him, but I predict that he's going to be a major national star at some point in the near future.
He's outrageous, he's irreverent, but he truly is one of the most
Very
talented people.
I think he's going to be all washed up before he's 30.
I'm glad, I hope Steve's watching.
You'll
probably hear from him, Joel.
Just try to be honest, Steve.
That's the news for this Friday night. I'm Terry Murphy.
And I'll give my right name, Joel Daly. Jack Jones reports Weekend Eyewitness News next. Good evening. Have a great weekend.